Before Thor, before Iron Man, before Captain America, before even the earth existed, there was nothing, and then creation. The Collector spoke in Guardians of the Galaxy that before the creation of the world or of the universe, there were 6 singularities, and then reality exploded into existence, and those 6 primordial forces forged into 6 objects, the 6 infinity stones. We have the time stone, the mind stone, the reality stone, the power stone, the soul stone, and the space stone. 6 aspects of existence contained within 6 stones, and when brought together, they could give their wielder control over virtually everything that exists. The 6 infinity stones. Space, mind, reality, power, time, and soul. We all saw in the movie when Thanos had all 6 stones and he snapped his finger, and then half of the universe was completely eliminated. So that's the power of the stones. They control different aspects of reality. So when you bring them together, the power is unimaginable. We spoke about the fact that there was 6 singularity, and then the universe exploded into existence, and those primordial forces forged into 6 objects, which became the infinity stones. But before that, there were creatures that existed, and those creatures were known as celestials. One celestial in particular they call Arishem was responsible for creating the first sun. As he created, or it created the first sun, the light spread around the universe, and then that is how life began. Each celestial, they have a responsibility that is very vital to the sustenance of the universe. For a celestial to be born, an existing celestial will plant an embryo inside an existing planet, and then it will enable life to start developing in those planets. The key component here is that intelligent life forms need to develop from that particular planet, and as civilization grows, it acts as a power source, an energy source for the celestial that is buried inside the core of that planet. And once the celestial is mature enough, after taking up most of the energy of the civilization that has developed on that planet, it will burst out of the planet's core and come into existence, and in turn killing and destroying every being that exists on the planet in which it was born. In the eyes of the celestials, they don't look at living beings as people or things that are alive or things that are important in the grand scheme of things. They look at them as the part of the process, that this is what is needed for a celestial to be born. And Earth was one of those planets that had a galactic seed planted in it, the embryo of a celestial. The name of the celestial that was planted in Earth was called Tiamut. Now, there was a problem. Every planet that had the potential to bring out intelligent life was plagued by predators that would continue to kill and eat off all of those potential civilized beings that would develop on that planet. And so the celestial Arishem thought about a solution to this. He created something called the Deviants. Now the Deviants, their sole job was to eliminate the predators that would kill off the beings that were supposed to develop into civilized beings, in order to generate the energy that would be sufficient enough for the celestial to grow and develop. But now the Deviants now deviated from their purpose. They started feeding on even the conscious beings that existed on the planets. Like on Earth, they started feeding on the humans also. In order for Arishem to mitigate this situation, he had to bring up another solution, and his solution was to create the Eternals. Now the Eternals themselves, they thought that they were from a place called Olympia, a planet or a solar or a universe or whatever called Olympia, that's where they came from. They thought that they were living beings, that they were eternal, that they were like gods. Their sole purpose was to eliminate the deviants. Once they were done killing off all the deviants on the planets, they were to leave the planet so that the civilization could thrive by itself. Until one of the Eternals, her name Cersei, discovered that they were not actually living beings, that Arishem created them in something called the World Forge. That is where they were made, that their memories, their emotions, and their awareness in general were coded into their being. It was programmed into them. So they are not really sentient beings, that you might say. So that actually changed a lot of things in the grand scheme of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Coming back to the singularities that became the 6 Infinity Stones, each one would eventually find its way into the hands of some of the most important characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let's talk about the Tesseract, for example. I think the Tesseract was the first one we saw. The Tesseract would pass through the hands of gods, Nazis, S.H.I.E.L.D., Captain Marvel, Loki, and eventually Thanos. The Reality Stone would become the Ether in Thor: The Dark World. It would draw Thor, Jane Foster, and the Dark Elves into a war that had been waiting thousands of years to happen. The Mind Stone would begin its journey hidden inside Loki's scepter, before eventually becoming the foundation of Vision. The Power Stone would turn a simple artifact found by Peter Quill into a weapon capable of destroying an entire civilization. The Time Stone would be hidden inside the Eye of Agamotto, which will later be found by Doctor Strange and will become one of his most powerful weapons. And then the Soul Stone that Marvel deliberately kept hidden until almost to the very end. 6 stones, 6 stories, hundreds of years, and eventually one man would hunt them down, each and every one of them, gather them and place them in a gauntlet called the Infinity Gauntlet, and he would snap his finger and half of the universe would be killed. And that person, or that being, is Thanos, the Titan. But before we get to Thanos, we'll have to go down memory lane to every point at which an Infinity Stone was seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Our next video, we're going to go down the rabbit hole of the Tesseract, which hidden within the Tesseract is the Space Stone. So we're going to see how it moved from one person to the other until it got to the hands of Thanos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.